I knew something was wrong the second I saw two police cruisers blocking my driveway at 7:13 a.m., lights flashing like I was running a meth lab instead of sipping coffee on my front porch. The lead officer's hand hovered near his belt like he thought I might bolt. Behind him, about 40 feet back, stood HOA President Dedra Kensington, arms crossed, mouth twisted into a smirk behind her oversized sunglasses. She looked like she'd already written the ending in her mind, and it ended with me in handcuffs. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and cheap perfume. My coffee steamed in my hand, the mug warm against my palm, the Army Corps of Engineers logo facing the cops like a badge of sanity. What these officers didn't know was simple. Dedra wasn't dealing with a squatter. She was dealing with a man who owned his land free and clear, with a deed tucked safely inside a folder sitting on my workbench. And that one piece of paper was about to blow her entire plan apart. My name is Garrett Hollins, 54, divorced, 2 kids in college, 20 years in the Army Corps of Engineers before I moved to Tulsa and started a small civil engineering consultancy. I'm not a trouble starter. Trouble usually finds men like me when we're busy minding our own business. 6 months ago, I bought 2 acres on the edge of Pinewood Estates. Quiet place. Trees older than the subdivision, sunsets that stain the sky orange and gold. I wanted peace, a place to build my workshop and a corner where my kids could visit without navigating my ex-wife's new boyfriend's shoes in the hallway. I checked that property line 5 different times before I signed anything. The survey showed my land clearly outside the Pinewood Estates HOA, 200 feet east of the boundary. Clean. Simple. Safe. Except it wasn't. Because right after closing, the HOA quietly filed paperwork to correct the boundary lines. No notice. No letter. No hearing. Nothing. They just swallowed my land whole on a map and hoped I wouldn't notice. I noticed. My first introduction to Dedra came in the form of a certified letter on thick, waxy paper. It smelled like cheap toner and arrogance, a $2,500 fine for an unapproved structure. My workshop. A structure that stood on land they didn't even legally control. I emailed back with my survey, deed, and a legal note from a paralegal buddy of mine. I'm not in your HOA. Week 3, Dedra herself showed up. Pastel blazer, clipboard, sunglasses so big they looked like they were weighing down her face. She paced my property, snapping photos like she was cracking a homicide case. Her voice was sharp and icy when she threatened a lien. I told her to get off my land. Week 5, another letter. This one, $5,000 plus daily penalties. The tone was colder, bolded in places, repeating the same line. Failure to comply may result in legal action, foreclosure, or both. Reuben, my neighbor, brought beer that night. 60-something, retired machinist, loud laugh that shook his whole chest. He told me, "Brother, they bleed you until you break. That's the play." I hired an attorney. Lucia Brennan. Smart, calm, early 40s, always speaks like she's halfway through solving a puzzle. She looked over the boundary change and said, "Garrett, this isn't just wrong, this is fraud." That was the moment I realized I wasn't the only one targeted. Travis and Mallory next door were drowning in fines for installing a swing set. An elderly couple was facing foreclosure for a few $100s in late fees. It wasn't an HOA, it was a machine, so I ignored the fines. That's when Dedra escalated. She filed a police report claiming I trespassed on HOA common area, my own driveway. She also said I verbally threatened her. A full lie. And that's why 2 cruisers were now rolling slow up my gravel like it was a raid. The lead officer, Sergeant Pacheco, stepped out first. He was mid-40s, built solid, calm eyes. His partner was younger, nervous, scanning everything like danger might jump out of the oak tree. "Morning, officers," I said, keeping my hands where they could see them. "I'm guessing Dedra Kensington called this in." Pacheco nodded. "We got a report of trespassing and threats. Your side?" "Sure," I said. "Let me show you something." Quote, I set my coffee down and walked into my workshop slowly, announcing every step. The air inside smelled like sawdust and motor oil, warm from yesterday's work. I grabbed my folder and returned. I laid everything across the hood of the cruiser. The metal was cool against my fingers. As Pacheco flipped through the papers, the sound of shuffling pages mixed with birds chirping and Deidre's angry breathing from behind us. He checked the survey against a county map on his phone, radioed something in, took his time. 5 minutes passed. Finally, he looked up. "Ma'am?" he called out. "This is a civil matter, not criminal trespass." Deidre stormed forward, heels clacking on my driveway. "Excuse me, I pay taxes. You will enforce." Pacheco cut her off. "Ma'am, I don't enforce HOA rules. Hire a lawyer." Her mask cracked. She spun, marched back to her Lexus, and peeled out, tires screeching. The burnt rubber smell hung heavy in the air. Pacheco handed me his card. "Off the record? Document everything. Next time she might push harder." The cruisers rolled away. I stood alone in my driveway, morning sun warming my shoulders, heart steady, mind racing. Deidre hadn't just crossed a line. She declared war. The police cruisers hadn't even cleared the end of my street when the weight of what just happened hit me. Deidre didn't call the cops because she believed her own lie. She called because she wanted me scared. She wanted me humbled. She wanted me to bend. Instead, all she did was light a fire. I went inside, poured myself a fresh cup of coffee, and stared out the kitchen window. My workshop sat quiet under the morning sun. The air smelled like cut grass and gasoline from my generator. My hands were still a little shaky, not from fear, but from anger, rising slow and steady like a storm front. I called Lucia. She answered on the second ring, voice calm like she was expecting the call. "Tell me." I told her everything, the flashing lights, the false report. Pacheco's warning, Deidre's meltdown. There was a pause, then Lucia said, "Garrett, that's malicious prosecution. If she lies to the police once, she'll lie in court too." Quote, "I heard typing in the background. Lucia didn't waste time. I'm filing a cease and desist, and I'm reporting the boundary annexation. Oklahoma law requires notice by certified mail. You got none. That means the annexation is void." I felt something loosen in my chest, hope. Not victory, not yet, but something sharp and focused. Later that day, I walked over to Ruben's place. His front porch smelled like old wood and cigar smoke. He popped the top on a beer and handed it to me. "I heard the sirens," he said. "Knew that woman finally snapped." "She tried to get me arrested," I said. He shook his head. "Brother, I told you, they push until you break. But now you pissed her off. She'll double down." He wasn't wrong. 2 days later, at the hardware store, Travis and Mallory approached me. Their toddler sat on Travis's hip, chewing on a plastic horse. "Garrett," Travis said, voice low, eyes tired. "We heard you hired an attorney. Can she help us? We're drowning over this swing set mess." Then they told me 9 families were in the same boat. Fines stacked so high they couldn't breathe. One elderly couple was facing foreclosure over a few missed dues that ballooned into a 5-figure nightmare. That was the moment everything changed for me. This wasn't just about my land anymore, it was about all of us. A few days passed with no letters, no knocks, no threats. I thought maybe Deidre had backed off. I was wrong. In the middle of week 7, a thick packet arrived in my mailbox. Heavy, smelled like toner and stale office air. The kind of envelope that ruins a man's morning. The Pinewood Estates HOA was suing me. A declaratory judgment to enforce HOA covenants. Deidre hired some strip mall lawyer named Conrad Trimble. His reputation was simple: win by intimidation, not facts. I took the packet straight to Lucia's office. The lobby smelled like lemon floor cleaner and overheated printer ink. Lucia skimmed the lawsuit, her jaw tightening the longer she read. "They're arguing the corrected plat map is binding," she muttered. "Even though you never got notice, even though they did it illegally. "And?" I asked. "And we counter," she said, hard. She filed a motion to dismiss, then a counterclaim for fraud, harassment, abuse of process, and she subpoenaed everything: meeting minutes, financial statements, emails. "Discovery is a beautiful thing," she said. "People get sloppy." Turns out she was right. Within a week, her paralegal found something rotten: $140,000 missing from HOA funds. Administrative consulting. Enhancement expenses. Payments to an LLC registered to Deidre. This wasn't neighborhood enforcement, this was theft. And it wasn't just the money. We found a pattern: 3 families foreclosed on in 2 years. Each home bought at auction by Deidre's LLC or the board members' family trusts. Each flipped for big profit. It was organized, clinical, predatory. That night we held a secret meeting in Travis and Mallory's backyard. The warm Oklahoma air buzzed with crickets and tension. People whispered like Deidre had spies hidden in the bushes. 11 families came. Every one of them had a horror story. One man fined $3,000 for putting up solar panels. State law protected his right. A widow threatened with foreclosure for $400 in late dues. A young couple charged $75 per day for leaving a trash can out overnight. When they finished talking, I stood up. "We fight," I said, "together. No one here gets crushed alone." The group nodded, some teary, some angry. Reuben lifted his beer. "To punching back," he said. We all clinked cans. But the next morning, the retaliation started. Someone spray-painted "deadbeat" across my garage door at 3:12 a.m. My cameras caught a white Lexus idling in the street. The footage showed a license plate partly visible: HOA QN. Deidre's car. The stench of spray paint was thick and chemical when I scrubbed it off the textured metal. My rag caught on the grooves. My hands shook with rage. I sent the footage to Lucia. She sent it to the police. Then things spiraled faster. HOA inspectors started showing up weekly. One used my trash cans as a stepladder to photograph over my fence. Another tried to walk onto my property until Reuben ran him off, yelling loud enough to scare the crows off the wires. Every day, a new intimidation tactic. Every night, my phone buzzed with neighbors asking if I had room for one more story, one more complaint. I logged every letter, every visit, every smear. My workshop filled with binders and printouts. My kitchen table became a war desk. My sleep dropped to 4 hours a night. But then Lucia called one morning, voice tight with something big. "Garrett," she said, "I found something you're going to want to sit down for." My heart thudded. "What is it?" I asked. "The HOA," she said slowly, "is being foreclosed on by their bank. And if you're willing, you can buy everything they own." I stood in my kitchen, sun slanting through the blinds, dust floating in the air, coffee growing cold in my hand. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt power shift. Not in her favor, in mine. When Lucia told me the HOA itself was being foreclosed on, it felt like the ground tilted under my feet. I set my coffee down and gripped the counter. The morning light through the blinds made stripes across the floor, and for the first time in months, I felt something warm break through all the stress. "Say that again," I said. "The HOA took out a huge construction loan in 2019, Lucia repeated. "They haven't paid in 18 months. The bank is foreclosing on the common property. And it's going to auction." My heart pounded. "And anyone can bid?" "Anyone with the cash." That afternoon I met Lucia at her office. The place smelled like old books and floor cleaner, the walls lined with case files. She walked me through everything. If I won the auction, I would own the clubhouse, the pool, the parks, the retention ponds, every inch of land the HOA used to control. And the best part? Oklahoma law said the owner of the common areas could petition the court to dissolve the HOA if it was insolvent. And Pinewood Estates wasn't just insolvent, It was drowning. That night I sat on my porch with Reuben. The sky over Tulsa was turning purple, cicadas buzzing in the trees. He cracked open 2 beers and handed me one. "So you really gonna buy the HOA?" he asked. "If I can," I said. He let out a low whistle. "Brother, that'll make you her boss." The thought made me laugh out loud for the first time in weeks. I spent 3 nights pulling money together. I drained savings. Called my brother Caleb in Texas. Explained everything. He wired me exactly what I needed and said, "Go finish the fight, man." 2 days before the auction, something strange happened. Deirdre showed up at my house. Her white Lexus rolled slow into my driveway. She got out without her usual armor. No full makeup, no perfect hair, no sunglasses. Just a pale, shaking face. "Garrett," she said quietly, "please, don't buy the property." I crossed my arms. The wind carried the smell of damp earth. Even the birds went quiet. "Why not?" She swallowed hard. "If you buy it, I lose everything. My license, my business, my reputation. Please, let someone neutral take it." "Neutral?" I said. "Like one of your friends who'll flip it and keep the scam going?" "No." Her voice cracked. "I made mistakes." "You made choices," I said. "You hurt people." Tears built in her eyes, but they didn't move me. She walked back to her car, shoulders trembling, and drove off slow, like she was heading to a funeral. Now I knew she was scared. Auction day came fast. The courthouse steps were slick from early rain. The limestone walls smelled like wet stone. By 7:45 a.m., homeowners crowded behind me. TV cameras lined the sidewalk. Reuben stood nearby with a thermos of coffee. Lucia held a stack of documents like they were weapons. Then 2 men walked up. Trimble's son and another guy built like a linebacker. They stood close, too close. "You sure you want to do this, Mr. Hollins?" the son said. "People who mess with the wrong folks find permits delayed, business drying up, clients disappearing." Reuben's phone was already recording. I tilted my head. "Are you threatening me on courthouse property?" They froze, then backed off. At 8 a.m. the auctioneer began. His voice echoed through the courtyard. "Opening bid, $850,000. My hand went up, $875. Silence, no movement, no competing bids, not one, going once, twice, sold. A gavel cracked through the air like thunder. Just like that, I became the owner of everything the HOA once controlled. Deirdre screamed from behind the crowd. "This is illegal! He's not even in our HOA!" The auctioneer didn't even look at her. "Ma'am, this is a public auction!" The TV crews swarmed. Microphones in my face. Cameras flashing. Someone asked me how it felt. "It feels like justice," I said. But the story wasn't done yet. The next morning was the dissolution hearing. The courtroom smelled like old paper and nerves. Homeowners filled every seat. Some stood in the aisles. Reporters lined the back wall. On our side, Lucia, Reuben, Travis, Mallory, my brother Caleb. On the HOA's side, empty chairs, until the doors swung open. Deirdre walked in wearing a black suit, like she was attending her own funeral. A young lawyer followed, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. The judge entered. Lucia presented everything: embezzlement, missing money, illegal fines, fraudulent boundary filing, the foreclosure scheme. When Deirdre's lawyer stood, he kept fumbling papers. The judge cut him off twice. Then Deirdre stood up herself. Her voice was sharp, manic. "This is a sham. Garrett manipulated everything. The court is rigged." The judge lifted a hand. "Ma'am, sit down." She didn't. The side door opened. Detective Morrison walked in with a deputy at his shoulder. He handed the judge a document. She read it, then looked at Deirdre. "Miss Kensington," the judge said calmly, "there is an outstanding warrant for your arrest." The courtroom went silent. Morrison stepped forward. "Deirdre Kensington, you are under arrest for felony embezzlement, fraud, and perjury." Deirdre's face collapsed. "No, No, please. The deputy cuffed her. The metal clicked loud in the quiet room. Mascara streaked down her cheeks as they led her out a side door. Her voice faded into the hallway. You did this! All of you! This isn't over! But it was. The judge cleared her throat. Pinewood Estates HOA is hereby dissolved. The room erupted. People cheered, cried, hugged. Neighbors who hadn't spoken in years clung to each other. Reuben wrapped me in a bear hug that nearly cracked my ribs. Outside, the warm Tulsa air was filled with sunlight, camera flashes, and relief. Reporters asked me what came next. I looked at the crowd behind me, these people who had been fined, bullied, threatened. We start over, I said. We rebuild something fair. 30 days later, we did exactly that. We formed the Pinewood Commons Trust, a non-profit. No fines for garden gnomes, no threats, no $300 monthly dues, just neighbors. The pool reopened. Kids played without fear. The clubhouse hosted birthday parties instead of HOA tribunals. The air smelled like barbecue and sunscreen instead of anxiety. Last week, a young couple knocked on my door. They just bought a house 3 blocks over. Are you Garrett Hollins? The woman asked. I nodded. She smiled wide. We wanted to say thank you. We heard you're the reason this neighborhood doesn't have an HOA anymore. Quote. As they drove away, I looked around at the street. Kids on bikes, neighbors talking, the quiet hum of a place healed. Dedra tried to take my peace. Instead, I gave peace back to 127 families. And that's a trade I'd make every day.